Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Sauce. Had a great Thursday, man. Picked up about 1.6 units, I think it was. Cardinals was the top bet at plus money for a full unit. Really having a nice July. On the last 13 days, I'm up over 9 units. Let's keep the positivity rolling into Friday. Best MLB day of the week, as I always say. 15 games to get through. Let's go.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
First up, Cardinals on the road in Wrigley to play the Cubs here. We got Jack Flaherty pitching against Justin Steele. Cubs open up as slight favorites here at home at minus 120. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got to lean on the Cubs here. 4-3 Cubs after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Cubbies. So Justin Steele's been good against this team. His last 3 starts against the Cardinals, he's 2-0 with a 2.37 ERA. The 1.36 whip is a bit high, but still, you can't take away from the fact that he really hasn't had problems with this Cardinals lineup, which is huge because he's a lefty, and we know what this Cardinals lineup's been doing to lefties for the last couple of years. He actually just pitched against the Cardinals recently, about 4 weeks ago, and he pitched great. 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, and a walk. Now, personally, I don't like to put too much weight in those weird games. It was over in London, the extra travel, no real home team. So personally, I like to disregard those games, but I thought it was worth mentioning. One huge plus for Justin Steele this matchup is his success against right-handed bats. Despite being a lefty, he's got excellent numbers against righties, 275 WOBA, 282 FIP, just a 19% hard hit rate, and that's especially clutch because the Cardinals are probably going to have 8 righties in their lineup tonight. Despite the Cardinals being on the hot streak, they surprisingly don't have the craziest numbers against left-handed pitching. Since July 1st, they're 9th in WRC+, 6th in on-base percentage, just 17th in isolated power. So obviously those are solid numbers, but compared to just how they've been producing as a whole, not as crazy as I thought they'd be. But then you look at which lefties they've seen recently, and it makes more sense. You can see the last 6 lefties to pitch against the Cardinals, an ERA and an even 4, 149 whip. I mean, just okay. Want to know who those pitchers were? Luzardo twice, who's having a great year, Braxton Garrett, Framber Valdez, Justin Steele, who we're talking about right now, and Mackenzie Gore. So they've seen a tough stretch of lefty starters here. I know Justin Steele's been good against the Cardinals, but I don't think anyone can stop this lineup right now, so I fully expect the Cards to get to him. On the other side, we got Jack Flaherty, and look how bad the Cubs numbers against Flaherty are. The current Cubs lineup is hitting just 137 lifetime off Jack Flaherty with a strikeout rate over 32%. That being said, I mean, he just can't seem to beat this team, and that just shows you how much turnover there's been in the Cubs lineup because, like I just said, the current Cubs lineup is hitting just 137 off Flaherty, but Jack Flaherty's last 4 trips to Chicago to Wrigley Field, 0-1 with an 8.38 ERA and a 2.48 whip. So he has not pitched well in Wrigley Field. One thing we have to say about Jack Flaherty is he definitely seems to be getting his shit together recently. He ended June in flames. He was really bad at the end of June. But look at his last 3 starts. He's got a 1.45 ERA, 1.23 whip, 4.09 expected FIP. Indicates he's had some good luck, but still, those are some solid numbers. In a serious improvement from the 2 starts before that with an ERA over 10. I know some people may look at Jack Flaherty's home-away splits and see that ERA jump and react to it. He's got a 3.30 ERA on the road compared to a 5.66 at home, but all the underlying numbers are basically the same, so those ERA numbers are inflated. I'm ignoring them. The way Flaherty has pitched in his last few starts and the way the Cubs are just not getting to righty starters, I think Flaherty might deal here. The last 7 righties to pitch against the Cubs, 40 2/3 innings pitched, 2.88 ERA and a 1.18 whip. So righty starters have had no problems putting together quality starts against this Cubs lineup. You want to know who those starters were too? Talk about Trevor Williams, Cutter Crawford, Bayo is obviously dope, Domingo Germán, Garrett Cole, then Freddie Peralta, Adrian Hauser. So it's not even the most elite list of righty starters, and they're, like I said, able to put quality starts together on this Cubs lineup. Just like I said yesterday, just like I've been saying for a week, this Cardinals team does the same thing every year. They're terrible in the first half, then they turn it on after the break and start winning games. We're seeing it happen again. It's happened in like 4 straight years. We're seeing it happen again. They've now won 6 in a row. Lineup is red hot. I kind of don't even care who's pitching. We're getting the Cardinals at plus money. I'm taking it. Give me St. Louis money line next game. Orioles at Rays. Kyle Bradish pitching against Zach Eflin. Tampa opens up as minus 140 favorites here at home. Total opens up at 7.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got a slight lean on Baltimore. 2-1 O's after 5 innings. Final score 4-3 O's. So like I said, Kyle Bradish Gonzalez on the mound for Baltimore, and he's been absolutely excellent. On his last 6 starts, he's got a 141 ERA, an 0.81 whip, 23.5% hard hit rate. He's truly pitching on another planet right now. That being said, I do have a couple concerns here for Kyle Bradish. First off, this will be a road start for him. He's been a little bit more vulnerable on the road. 2.39 ERA at home compared to a 3.83 on the road. Both WOBA and WHIP higher on the road as well. And then we add on the fact that Tampa Bay's current lineup, the Rays' current bats, are hitting 333 off Kyle Bradish's lifetime with a 935 OPS. So they've had no problem getting to this guy. Kyle Bradish's last 3 starts against Tampa, he's 1-1 with a 7.98 ERA, a 170 whip. So he struggled with this team. Some good news for Kyle Bradish is the Rays don't seem to be producing against right-handed pitching like they were earlier in the season. Since July 1st, they're 21st in WRC+, 29th in on-base percentage, 14th in isolated power. The last 5 righties to pitch against the Rays actually were able to put together good starts. 31 in the 3rd innings pitched, 2.30 ERA, 105 whip. And those pitchers are John Gray, Nate Eovaldi, Dane Dunning, Brady Singer, and Alec Marsh. Now, on the other side, we got Zach Eflin pitching, and you could say the same thing. I was just talking about how the Rays have great career numbers against Kyle Bradish. You can say the same thing about this Baltimore lineup because the Orioles' current bats are hitting 302 lifetime off Eflin with an 830 OPS. Zach Eflin's made 2 starts against the Orioles since 2020, and neither of them were good. He's 0-2 with an ERA and an even 6, 2.3 home runs per 9, so he's struggling to keep the ball in the park. But now we got some good news for Zach Eflin. He's pitching at home in Tampa where he's been so much better this year. He's got a 5.36 ERA on the road compared to a 2.34 at home. WOBA, WHIP, expected FIP, all significantly better at home at drop. More good news for Zach Eflin. He's got excellent splits against left-handed bats, especially at home. At home against lefties is his best split. Just a 190 WOBA and 065 whip, 234 FIP. He has dominated lefties at home, and the reason that's so significant is Baltimore's going to have 7 lefties in their lineup tonight. And the Orioles' numbers against righties definitely way better than they were about a month and a half ago, but still, since July 1st, 12th in WRC+, 13th in isolated power, 11th in on-base percentage, so not quite as explosive as they were right around the break. I think Zach Eflin's in a good spot to pitch a good game here. So I think Tampa's the side as far as betting the game. I want to be on the Rays in some way. I don't know if I want to straight up take the Rays first 5 minus a half run, but also they're sitting at a minus 155 price, so that's might be a little expensive. So I'm on Tampa. I'm going to say Rays or pass for now. I'll let you know on the live show what I end up doing. Next up, Rockies are on the road in Miami to play the Marlins. I think it's going to be Chase Anderson versus Braxton Garrett, but there's no line and no total open up yet for this one, so that means the starting pitching matchup could change. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and if these 2 guys are the starters, model's giving us 5-2 Marlins after 5 innings, final score 7-4 Marlins, so heavy lean on Miami here if these are the 2 starting pitchers. So yeah, obviously I'm going to skip this one for now. I want to make sure these 2 are the guys. I'll let you know what I'm doing for this game on the live show tomorrow at 4 p.m. Next game, Padres at Tigers. We got Seth Lugo pitching against Reese Olson. Padres open up as pretty solid favorites here on the road, minus 155. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and we do have 2-1 Padres after 5 innings, but after 9 innings, 3-3 tie. So no lean here as far as a side in the 9-inning score. So like I said, we got Seth Lugo on the mound, and he's coming off a real bad start against the Phillies in his last outing. He gave up a home run to Bryson Stott and a home run to Kyle Schwarber. Reason I'm mentioning that is his home runs per 9 numbers are triple the rate against left-handed bats than they are against right-handed bats. FIP is also significantly higher against lefties. Detroit, the Tigers, they're going to have 5 lefty starters in their lineup for this one. That being said, I mean, Tigers really haven't done much against right-handed pitching. Since July 1st, they're just 25th in WRC+, 27th in on-base percentage. So yeah, they have 5 lefties in their lineup, which could give Seth Lugo problems, but I don't know if we could count on him for more than maybe 2 runs in the first 5. I mean, shit, we just saw Jordan Lyles throw 6 shutout innings against the Tigers with just 3 hits. That was recently, too. On the other side, we got Reese Olson, and he's got some nice-looking numbers in his rookie campaign here, having a nice little rookie season, but you have to take into consideration that a lot of his good performances came out of the bullpen. See his splits here. As a starter, he's got a 5.06 ERA, a 1.50 ERA out of the bullpen. He's been a lot better out of the bullpen, which is skewing his numbers. That's the point I'm trying to make. In this one, he'll be starting, and he has to pitch against the Padres. Their numbers against right-handed pitching since July 1st are just crazy. 4th in WRC plus, 1st in isolated power, 2nd in on-base percentage. Now, some good news for Olsen would be despite the Padres having monster numbers against right-handed pitching this month, the last 4 righty starters to pitch against the Padres were actually somewhat able to hold them in check. They combined for 22 innings pitched, a 3.68 ERA, and a 1.18 whip, so not bad. Those 4 starters are Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, Alek Manoah, and Zach Wheeler. As much as I'd like to sit here and tell you that Reese Olson can pitch a good game against the Padres, I just don't think that's very realistic. But maybe the Padres are cooling off a bit, and maybe Olsen can hold them to 2 or 3 runs in the first 5. No question the Tigers have the bullpen edge here. As we've said several times, the Padres bullpen has been awful. But Detroit will not have Jason Foley available for this one. That's one of their most important arms out of their bullpen. So I don't know how much I would really count on that edge for the Tigers either. So it's a bit square, but I like the Padres in this one. It's sitting at minus 140 now, but I would imagine the public will bet this one up. Probably be closer to minus 150, minus 155. When I'm giving the ticket out. So I'll say San Diego minus 1.5 or pass for now. I'll let you know the final decision on the live show at 4 p.m. next game. Giants at Nats. Alex Wood pitching against Jake Irvin. Giants open up as pretty solid road favorites here, minus 145. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got to lean on Washington here. 4-3 Nats after 5 innings. Final score 6-5 Nats. So check this out. The Nationals actually have excellent lifetime numbers against Alex Wood. Through 40 career at-bats, they're hitting 350 off him as a team with an 856 OPS, so they've had no problem getting to Alex Wood in the past. Alex Wood made 2 starts against the Nationals in 2022, and they weren't good. He was 1-1 with a 6.30 ERA and a 1.40 whip, so yeah, the Nationals have given this guy problems. So I know if you take a look at his home-away splits, it may look like he's been great on the road this year, but that's just not accurate. Yeah, he's got a 6.15 ERA at home and a 2.96 ERA on the road, but look at all the underlying numbers. I mean, he's got a 161 whip on the road, a 5.12 expected FIP. These numbers indicate that he's had amazing luck on the road, and there's negative regression coming for this dude. And look at the Nationals' recent numbers against left-handed pitching. Washington's been getting to lefties. Since July 1st, they're 8th in WRC plus and 1st in isolated power. 1st. The last 3 lefties to pitch against the Nationals have gotten rocked. They combined for 13 in the 3rd innings pitched, a 10.80 ERA, 1.88 whip, 4.1 home runs per 9. Nationals are crushing lefties. Those 3 arms are Drew Smyly, Steven Matz, and Andrew Heaney. So yeah, safe to say, I think Alex Wood is going to be in for a tough one here. I think the Nationals definitely tagged this dude up. On the other side, we've got Jake Irvin pitching for Washington, and he's actually already pitched against the Giants earlier in the season. He threw an absolute gem. 6 in the 3rd innings pitched, just 4 hits and 0 earned runs, 3 walks. And Jake Irvin's been silently showing signs of improvement. He did just get rocked on the road in St. Louis, but the Cards are hitting everybody, so I'm not going to hold that against him. You can see here his last 6 starts, 4.11 ERA compared to an 8.41 ERA in the previous 5. Home runs per 9, whip, FIP, all numbers looking much better in his last 6 starts in comparison to the previous 9. And if we take a look at the Giants' numbers against right-handed pitching this month, it definitely isn't threatening at all. 22nd in WRC plus, 20th in isolated power, 19th in on-base percentage against righties. So that shouldn't scare you, but are they heating up? Because the last 3 righty starters to pitch against the Giants combined for a 7.15 ERA, 1.59 whip. That's Graham Ashcraft, Luke Weaver, and Osvaldo Bido. Not the best 3 arms, but are the Giants' bats coming back to life? Because we know this Giants lineup is capable of hitting righties. They started off the season hot against righties. They got real hot during that winning streak last month. So are they on their way back? It looks like they might be. Bullpen-wise, no question the Giants have the huge edge here. Giants' bullpen hasn't been as great in July as it was in June. That being said, the Nationals' bullpen is probably the worst in baseball right now. Since July 1st, they're dead last in ERA, dead last in WOBA, 29th in FIP, 29th in expected FIP. It's just the bullpen situation in Washington is ugly right now, and the Giants are going to have the huge edge in the second half of this game. I'd love to take a shot on Washington, but with that bullpen, I just can't do it. Plus, I also think that the Giants are going to get to Jake Irvin here. If Washington does take a lead because of the bullpen edge, I think the Giants might be worth a look as far as a live bet. But if I just had guns to my head, one bet for this game that I think has the best chance of hitting, I'll say over 9.5 for this one. Next game. Royals are on the road in Yankee Stadium. We got Alec Marsh pitching against Schmitty. It's Schmitty day. Clark Schmidt's on the mound for the Yanks. Yankees open up as huge favorites here, minus 220. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and we definitely have a lean on the Yanks here. 3-2 Yankees after 5 innings. Final score 5-4 Yankees. So as we know, this kid Alec Marsh started off his major league career in a terrible way. His first major league start, he got rocked by the Dodgers. 6 hits, 4 walks, 2 homers, 5 runs in his debut. But again, it was to the Dodgers. Since then, he's made 2 starts, and we're definitely seeing some improvement. It was versus the Rays and at Minnesota, so not even 2 easy starts. In those 2 starts, he's got a 3.27 ERA, 109 whip, 321 expected FIP. So this kid's showing some signs of life. Actually, he's been pretty good in his last 2 starts. Still a super small sample size, but Kansas City fans definitely have to like what they see from him. And some good news for Royals fans here. In those last 2 starts, Marsh has some really good looking numbers against right-handed bats. 257 WOBA and 075 whip. So he's been really good against right-handed bats. It's important in this matchup because the Yankees are probably going to have 8 righties in the starting lineup here. And then we move on to the Yankees numbers against right-handed pitching. And I mean, since July 1st, it's as bad as you would imagine, maybe even worse. 27th in WRC+, 29th in isolated power. They're not even hitting homers anymore. Just 20th in on-base percentage. It's really a sad story, the Yankees offense right now. Against lefties, they've shown a little more signs of life, but not against righties. The last 3 righty starters to pitch against the Yankees were all dominant. They combined for 16 in the 3rd innings pitched, a 1.65 ERA, 0.55 home runs per 9. Those 3 starters, you ready for this? Chase Silseth, Griffin Canning, and Chase Anderson. Those are the 3 starters that shut the Yankees down. So I know it sounds crazy, but I actually think it's very possible that Alec Marsh is about to go on the road in Yankee Stadium and pitch a good game here. I mean, I don't trust this Yankees lineup against right-handed pitching at all right now. But before we go bet the Royals, we got to look at the other side because Schmidt's on the mound. And Clark Schmidt looks like a brand new man compared to early in the season. You can see his numbers here in his last 11 starts in comparison to the first 9. And I mean, we're talking about a 6.30 ERA drop down to a 2.83. WOBA, home runs per 9, whip, FIP, everything looking much better in his last 11 starts. So Schmidt's starting to put together a nice little season for himself lately. That being said, we do have to mention that he's definitely been more susceptible to left-handed bats. WOBA jumps from 291 against righties to 373 against lefties. Whip and FIP also way up against lefties. The reason I'm mentioning that is Kansas City's going to have 6 lefties in their lineup in this one. But don't worry, Schmidt, because the Royals' numbers against righties are ass. Since July 1st, they're 24th in WRC+, 20th in isolated power, 24th in on-base percentage. You know what? That is terrible, but in comparison to the Yankees' numbers, it's actually pretty solid because the Yankees against righties have been that bad, which is why I'm going to take the first 5 under. Spoiler, but we'll get to that in a second. Bullpen matchup, and this is just disgusting. I mean, this is 2 of the coldest bullpens in baseball. You can see since July 1st, Kansas City's 28th in ERA, 25th in expected FIP. Yankees are 23rd and 28th in the same categories. Second half of this game is just going to be a straight coin flip between 2 really struggling bullpens. So as far as betting this game, like I said, I'm taking the first 5 under, and you can get it at 5 right now. So give me the first 5 under 5. I'm also probably going to take a shot with the Royals at plus 180. I think we're going to see a super low-scoring, close game through the first 5 or 6 innings, and then we're looking at a complete crapshoot with these 2 bullpens at the end. So at plus 180 and what I think is going to be close to a coin flip in the second half of this game, I'll take it. So give me the first 5 under 5, and I'll take a small shot on the Royals' money line at plus 180 next game. Phillies are in Cleveland to play the Guardians. Ranger Suarez pitching against Gavin Williams. Phillies open up as pretty heavy road favorites here, minus 150. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And after 5 innings, we're looking at 3-2 Phillies. After 9 innings, we're looking at a 4-4 tie according to the model. So you remember that absolute warpath that Ranger Suarez was on? That seems to be over. If you remember, he had a 1.35 ERA and an 0.98 whip through a 6-game stretch. But in his last 3 starts, his ERA is up to a 5.82 and a whip over 180. Good news for Suarez here is this is a road start, and he's been much better on the road, not just this season, that dates back to last season as well. Here are his numbers for this season. You can see at home, it's got a 5.64 ERA. It drops all the way down to a 2.39 on the road. WOBA, home runs per 9, FIP, all also better on the road. So more good news for Ranger Suarez. This Cleveland lineup's been really good against righties, not so much against lefties. Since July 1st, they're just 19th in WRC+, 24th in on-base percentage. So Cleveland, I fear this Cleveland lineup when it's a right-handed starter, but I'm not scared of this lineup when there's a lefty on the mound. The last 6 lefties to pitch against Cleveland own a combined 3.81 ERA against them with a 1.33 whip. And what makes this interesting is when you look at the names of the last 6 lefty starters who pitch against them: Rich Hill, Martin Perez, Andrew Heaney, Ryan Yarbrough, Daniel Lynch, and Colby Allard. So not exactly a list of all-stars there. And those 6 guys combined, 3.81 ERA and a 1.33 whip against the Cleveland Guardians. So they're facing bad lefty starters and still not really producing many runs. As much as Ranger Suarez has been struggling recently, I think this is a great spot for him. I think he'll get back on track. I like Ranger Suarez to pitch a good one here. On the other side, we've got Gavin Williams, and he's had some trouble against left-handed bats. The reason I'm starting there is because we know the Phillies start 5 lefties in their lineup. 2 of them are Harper and Schwarber, 2 of their biggest bats, obviously. Gavin Williams against lefties, 364 WOBA, 160 whip, and an expected FIP over 6. So that's some concerns when you're pitching against the Phillies. Also, this game's in Cleveland, and through a very small sample size, Gavin Williams hasn't been good at home in this ballpark. He's made 3 starts at home. He's got a 5.60 ERA, over 2 home runs per 9, 5.78 FIP. And those games versus Oakland, Kansas City, and Atlanta. The Braves, I'll let you slide, but against Oakland and Kansas City, you can't be getting rocked at home against them. You can see his numbers in his 2 road starts much better. But yeah, at home against Oakland and Kansas City, that's concerning. And it gets even more concerning when you look at the Phillies' recent numbers against right-handed pitching, because they're tagging them. Since July 1st, the Phillies are 8th in WRC+, 8th in isolated power, and 12th in on-base percentage against righties. So I fully expect them to get to Gavin Williams here and put runs on the board early in this one. When you look at the bullpen matchup, it's crazy to think that the Phillies have the bullpen edge, because if you just rewind a month and a half, Cleveland had maybe the best bullpen in baseball. And now Phillies, even without Dominguez and without Alvarado, still outproducing the Cleveland bullpen. So it's crazy. Can't believe the Phillies have the bullpen edge here, but they definitely do. I truly can't believe I'm not taking Cleveland at plus money at home here against the Phillies. I truly think Cleveland's the better team, but I like Philly in this spot. I got to take the Phillies. So give me the Phillies money line at minus 120 next game. Arizona at Cincinnati. D-backs at Reds. We got Tommy Henry pitching against Ben Lively. Reds open up as minus 120 favorites at home here. Total opens up at 10.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we're looking at a 2-2 tie after 5 innings. Final score 5-4 D-backs. So like I said, Tommy Henry's pitching, and he's been great in his last 5 starts. He's got a 2.20 ERA. Now his FIP and expected FIP both over 4 indicates that he's had some good luck, but still, if you look at his numbers from his last 5 starts in comparison to the previous 5, there's no question that there's a serious jump in production for Tommy Henry. And I don't know what happened to this Cincinnati Reds lineup, but they are just gone. Since July 1st, this is one of the worst lineups in baseball at home. 29th in WRC+, 27th in OPS. They're dead last, hitting just 181 as a team at home in Great American Ballpark. Some good news for the Reds would be Tommy Henry throws with his left hand. The Reds' numbers against lefties aren't nearly as bad as the rest of their offensive numbers. Since July 1st, the Reds are 16th in WRC+, 16th in OPS, so middle of the pack. That being said, the last lefty they saw was Wade Miley, and he threw 6 shutout innings against the Reds, so I think Tommy Henry's going to be just fine. I don't really trust this Reds lineup right now. On the other side, we've got Ben Lively pitching, and at a quick glance, it might look like this dude's been dealing recently. He's got a 2.79 ERA in his last 4 starts, but don't let that fool you, because all the underlying numbers point towards an ERA around 4 or just over 4, which isn't bad. Ben Lively's been pitching well. I'm just saying ignore that 2.79 ERA in the last 4 starts. But he's got to pitch against Arizona, and yes, the Diamondbacks have some weak-looking numbers against right-handed pitching over the last 30 days, but we can ignore these because this lineup looks to be all the way back. The last 3 righty starters to pitch against Arizona, 4 runs on Spencer Strider, 4 runs on Charlie Morton, 7 runs on Bryce Elder. So this Arizona lineup is looking like the Arizona lineup that we were seeing back in May into June. They look to be back, which is why there's no way I could pass up the D-backs at plus money in this spot. No chance. Give me Arizona money line at plus 110 next game. Mets at Red Sox. Kodai Senga's pitching against, I think, Cutter Crawford. Most websites are saying James Paxton, but I'm reading it might be Cutter Crawford. I'm not sure. Boston opens up as minus 120 favorites at home here. Total opens up at 9.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we have no lean at all here. We're looking at 3-3 tie after 5 innings, 5-5 tie after 9 innings. So I'm going to skip this one and save it for the live show. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's going to be James Paxton or Cutter Crawford. I saw a beat writer on Twitter saying it was Cutter Crawford, so I think it's going to be him. But Action Network, RotoWire, Roto Grinder, they all still say Paxton. So I'm just going to hold up on this one. I'll probably have a bet for it on the live show at 4 p.m. next game. Dodgers at Rangers. This should be a good series here. We got Tony Gonsolin pitching against Andrew Heaney. Dodgers open up as -120 favorites on the road here. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and we got a slight lean on LA here. 4-3 Dodgers after 5 innings. Final score 6-5 Dodgers. So obviously the talk surrounding Tony Gonsolin right now is all about his recent struggles. Through April and May, Tony Gonsolin had an ERA at 177. June and July, it's up to 559. But look at the FIP and expected FIP numbers. They're basically the same, and that's why all those advanced metrics people are big on these numbers. FIP, expected ERA, because they were showing us how lucky Tony Gonsolin was getting to be dealing earlier in the season, and now his performance is a more true reflection of how he's actually been pitching. That being said, we did just see Tony Gonsolin go on the road to Citi Field and pitch a great game against a Mets lineup that's been hitting right-handed pitching well. That's a seriously impressive performance here. 5 innings pitched, just 2 hits and 1 earned run. But again, his FIP and expected FIP for that game, 529 to 463. So again, still the analytics are saying he had a lot of good luck in that start. Well, this game will really tell us how much luck is involved because he's pitching in Texas against this Rangers lineup that's obviously good as hell. It's been good as hell all year. Since July 1st, the Rangers are first in OPS, third in WRC plus against right-handed pitching. I personally think Tony Gonsolin's going to get pieced up in this one. But the thing is, as much as I'd love to take the Rangers at home against Tony Gonsolin as dogs, there's just no way in hell I can back Andrew Heaney. I know he's had back-to-back great starts at home. He's actually given up 0 runs in 2 consecutive home starts, and one of them against the Astros. I don't even care. It's the Dodgers, and they should rock this dude. I have no faith in Andrew Heaney at all. So I'm probably a pass for me. I guess I'll say Dodgers are pass, but this is most likely just a pass for me. Next game, White Sox at Twins. Lance Lynn pitching against Joe Ryan. Minnesota opens up as -165 favorites here. Total opens up at 7. Take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 3-1 Twins after 5 innings. Final score 5-3 Twins. So Joe Ryan looking kind of mortal recently. You can see here through his first 13 starts of the season, he had a 2.90 ERA. On his last 6 starts, he's looking at a 5.71 ERA. He got lit up by the Tigers at home, the Orioles at home. The A's got to him a bit in Oakland. I'm not saying the White Sox are going to get to Joe Ryan in Minnesota. I'm just saying I don't trust Joe Ryan quite as much as I did a month ago. He did pitch against the White Sox already earlier in the season. That was back on May 2nd. This was on the road in Chicago, and he shut this team down badly. 6 shutout innings, just 1 hit. He completely blanked the White Sox. So despite Joe Ryan showing some signs of vulnerability recently, I think we can count on him to deal here. We just saw Justin Verlander throw 8 innings against the White Sox, allowing just 3 hits the other night. So Joe Ryan at home in Minnesota should be just fine. On the other side, we got my man Lance Lynn making a road start, and he really hasn't been great on the road recently. He's made 5 away starts since June 1st. He's got a 6.67 ERA in those starts, 155 whip. Now, his expected FIP isn't bad at all, sitting at 380, but as a whole, there's not much here to give us a ton of hope in Lance Lynn in this spot. On top of that, Lance Lynn has not pitched well against this Twins team at all recently. He made 3 starts against the Twins last year, and he made 1 start against the Twins back in April. In those 4 starts combined, he's got a 7.71 ERA and a 162 whip. He's really struggled with this Minnesota team. And then you add on the fact that the Twins have been crushing righties, and I mean crushing them. Since July 1st, Minnesota's first in WRC plus, third in OPS against right-handed pitching. I love Lance Lynn, as you guys know, but like I said, I don't have much hope for him here in this spot. Bullpen-wise, no lean either way. So basically, I think the angle here is just to play Joe Ryan against Lance Lynn. So Minnesota first 5, -0.5 run at -120 might be the play here. I'll let you know for sure on the live show at 4 p.m. Next game, Braves at Brewers. Michael Soroka pitching against Freddie Peralta. Atlanta opens up as -145 favorites here on the road. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got to lean on Milwaukee here. 4-2 Brewers after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Brewers. So if you take a quick glance, it may look like Michael Soroka has started to turn his season around. On his last 2 starts, his ERA is down to 2.35. 6.89 it was in his first 3 starts. But if you look at all the other numbers, FIP and expected FIP all the way up at 5. He only pitched 7 2/3 innings pitched combined in those last 2 starts, 4 2/3 in one and 3 in the other. Basically what I'm saying is I'm not going to let these last 2 starts from Soroka trick me into thinking we can trust this guy. I don't believe we can. Now, the Brewers aren't exactly setting the world on fire against righties. Since July 1st, they're 20th in OPS, 19th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching, but we just saw Michael Soroka struggling against the White Sox lineup at home last week, so I fully expect the Brewers to get to him, score some runs early in this one. On the other side, we've got Freddie Peralta making a home start here. Since June 1st, he's made 4 starts at home in Milwaukee, and these numbers aren't terrible. 4.64 ERA, 108 WHIP. Expected FIP looks good at a 327, but these numbers concern me. Want to know why? The 4 teams he pitched against in these 4 home starts, the Cubs, the Pirates, the Athletics, and the Orioles. And the Orioles start was back on June 6th before they got hot. So yeah, maybe these numbers look okay, but 4 home starts against the Cubs, Pirates, Athletics, and Orioles, those numbers should be better than that if you want me to trust you against the Atlanta Braves. Speaking of the Braves, I mean, we know they've taken a small step back offensively, but this lineup is still terrifying. Since July 1st, we're talking about 9th in WRC plus, 9th in OPS against right-handed pitching. So as much as I'd like to put some faith in Freddie Peralta, I think he's going to get tagged up in this game. Here's where it gets a little shaky for the Braves, because if you look at the bullpen matchup, Milwaukee's bullpen has been great. Since July 1st, the Brewers are 6th in ERA, 1st in FIP, and 1st in expected FIP. Braves are 9th, 3rd, and 13th. So the Brewers actually have the bullpen edge in this one. I know there's going to be a ton of sharp action on Milwaukee in this one. I mean, since the All-Star break, the Brewers are 5-1. Braves are just 2-4. Games in Milwaukee. But I disagree. Everyone can go and bet the Brewers. I'm not ready to fade this Atlanta's team as underdogs yet. So I'm going to roll with Atlanta money line. Next game. Pirates at Angels. Johan Oviedo pitching against Shohei Ohtani. Angels open up as pretty solid favorites here, minus 165. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got to lean on the Angels. 3-1 Angels after 5 innings. Final score 6-2 Angels. So let's look at the recent body of work from Johan Oviedo here. He pitched great against the Cubs and Marlins, then gets absolutely slaughtered by the Brewers and Dodgers, then throws a gem against the Giants. So he's been able to produce against weaker lineups, but he's struggling against the strong lineups. That's pretty thin. It's only a month sample size, but it's something to take note of. So the next question would be, do we consider the Angels a good lineup? Here are their numbers against right-handed pitching since July 1st, 16th in WRC+, 12th in OPS, decent, not great. But here's the thing. Those are the numbers since July 1st. Look at the righty starters that have pitched against the Angels since the All-Star break. They scored 5 runs on Domingo Germán, only 1 on Severino, so Severino was able to pitch against them, 3 on Christian Javier, 4 on JP France. So the Angels may not have the most explosive looking numbers against righties this month, but since the All-Star break, they've been scoring on righty starters. So I think we can count on the Angels to score at least 2 or 3 runs on Oviedo in the first 5 innings here. On the other side, we got Shohei Ohtani, and we've only seen 2 starts from him in the month of July, so let's not panic here. But he definitely hasn't been great. To be fair, he pitched against the Padres and Astros, but still, an ERA over 8, a 190 whip. I mean, Ohtani's gotten rocked in back-to-back starts now. But this is looking like the perfect spot for Shohei Ohtani to get back on track. He's at home in LA where he's been much better. He's got a 4.60 ERA on the road. It drops all the way to a 2.74 at home. Whip, FIP, and expected numbers all significantly better at home for Ohtani. So more good news for Ohtani. He gets the pitch against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And look at the Pirates' numbers against right-handed pitching since July 1st. They are dead last in batting average, dead last in OPS, dead last in WRC+. Yeah, I'd say the table's absolutely set for Ohtani to dominate in this start. The thing is, the Angels' bullpen can't be trusted at all. I mean, I have no faith in this bullpen whatsoever. But Ohtani should deal, and I think the Angels get to Oviedo. So I'm going to say Angels minus 1.5 or pass for now. Next up, Houston at Oakland. Framber Valdez pitching against JP Sears. Houston opens up as solid road favorites here, minus 225. Total opens up at 7.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and we definitely got to lean on the Astros here. 3-1 Houston after 5 innings. Final score 5-3 Houston. I'm going to pass on this one. Obviously, I like the Astros to win, but to lay the 1.5 runs, you're still laying minus 145, minus 150 juice, so that's too expensive for me. I'll skip it for now. Next game. Blue Jays at Mariners. This should be a good series here. We got Kikuchi pitching against Bryce Miller. Seattle opens up as minus 140 favorites. Total opens up at 7.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got a 2-2 tie after 5 innings, and after 9 innings, 3-3 tie. So let's bring up Kikuchi's last 8 starts on a chart here. You can see he gave up a lot of runs in the Red Sox and White Sox games. That's a dark blue line. But look at the white and yellow lines here. That's the FIP and expected FIP. Look how consistent this dude's been. These numbers indicate that he had some terrible luck in those 2 games. Now he's set to pitch against his old team, the Mariners. And this isn't his first time pitching against Seattle since leaving the team. He pitched against them in May of last year and absolutely dominated. 6 innings, just 1 hit, no earned runs. But that was over a year ago. Probably not very relevant, but worth mentioning. So let's look at the Mariners' numbers against left-handed pitching recently, and it doesn't look good. Since July 1st, the Mariners are 24th in WRC+, 26th in OPS against lefties. Kikuchi has shown us he can be trusted on the road, so I think it's safe. We can count on Kikuchi to give us a quality start here. On the other side, we got Bryce Miller. And at first glance, you might think this dude's been much better at home in Seattle. 284 at home compared to a 485 on the road. But if you look at the FIP and expected FIP numbers, they're pretty much the same. So it basically tells us he's gotten a bit lucky at home and a bit unlucky on the road. Look what happens when we pull up Bryce Miller's last 3 starts. He's got 3 bad ones and 3 good ones. The bad starts are against Texas, Baltimore, and Tampa. The good starts against Miami, the White Sox, and Detroit. So he's pitched well against bad lineups and struggled against good lineups. Well, now he's going to pitch against the Blue Jays, and Toronto is definitely a good lineup. In fact, they've been one of the better road lineups this year. On the season, Toronto's 7th in WRC+, 11th in OPS on the road. I think the Jays bats are going to tag Bryce Miller up in this one for real. So I like Toronto in the first 5 of this one. Bullpen-wise, we're looking at a battle in this series. These are 2 of the hottest bullpens in baseball right now. In the month of July, the Mariners are 5th in ERA, 2nd in expected FIP. Toronto's 2nd and 3rd in those same categories. So I wouldn't give the edge to either team in the second half of these games. Like I said, these bullpens are hot. So as far as betting this game goes, like I said, I like Toronto first 5 money line at plus 110, but I also probably will play Toronto in the full game money line at plus 110 also. If anything changes with any of the bets I've mentioned in this video, I'll let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. Also, like I've mentioned, we're going live 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through all 15 games, cover the line movement, make our final decision. So if you're able to make it at 4 p.m. Eastern time, would love to see you in the comments. Friday, MLB, best day of the week to bet baseball, like I always say. Let's keep the positive July rolling. Like I said, we're up over 9 units in the last 14 days. I'm sorry. So let's keep that rolling. Let's pick our spots and be smart. Remember to bet responsibly, and I will talk to you on Twitter.